And what time did you arrive at the UCLA Medical Center?
At approximately 4:25 p.m.
Now, do you recognize the defendant, Conrad Murray?
Yes, I do.
Do you see him in court here today?
I do.
Could you identify him, please?
He's a gentleman seated at the counsel table with the light blue shirt and orange tie.
Pointing to and identifying
Yellow tie.
Dr. Murray, the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. And when you responded to UCLA at 4:25 p.m., where did you go in particular at UCLA?
Into the emergency room area.
And how long did you stay at UCLA after you arrived at about 4:25 in the afternoon?
I think to approximately 7 p.m. that night.
Did you ever see Conrad Murray at UCLA while you were there?
No, sir, I did not.
And as part of your investigation, did you obtain and book into evidence surveillance footage from the UCLA Medical Center?
Yes.
And were you in court when surveillance footage was shown of Dr. Murray leaving the lobby area, appearing to walk toward the exit doors during the testimony? I believe it was Fahim Muhammad.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that footage? That's footage that you obtained from UCLA?
Yes, sir.
And do you know, as in that footage, as Dr. Murray walked to the off-camera location, are you familiar with that vicinity to describe where Dr. Murray would have been proceeding?
Yes.
And where would he have been walking toward?
Back into, it would be described, I guess, as the west lobby of UCLA Medical Center.
Okay, but would that first require exiting the building?
That's correct.
And you've seen footage of Dr. Murray exiting the building from the emergency room lobby, I believe at about 4:38 p.m., according to the UCLA timestamp?
That's correct.
And you're also aware there's footage showing him subsequently in the west lobby, I believe, I may be misstating, I believe at 5:02 p.m.?
That's correct.
But your knowledge of Dr. Murray's actions as reflected in the surveillance footage is from the surveillance footage. You personally did not see him at UCLA at all that day. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate.
You know, at this time I would like to play a brief clip from the UCLA surveillance footage. May we have the lights, Dan?
Yes. This is from the originally marked exhibit?
It's actually an additional clip, Your Honor, showing Dr. Murray exiting the building. May this be marked People's 182 for identification?
182.
I apologize, Your Honor.
There's no reason. We're just having a little techno issue. As always, Deputy Jones, thank you. I say that every night when I go to bed, and I say it every morning when I get up. You're blushing. Mr. Walgren, you're welcome.
Do you see this individual depicted here, Detective Smith?
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
That's Dr. Murray.
This is timestamp 4:38 p.m.
Correct.
And I think we may have missed the beginning. May I just play it one additional time, Your Honor?
Yes.
You see him just come out of the exit doors here. Would that be the emergency room lobby area?
That's correct.
And do you recognize the area depicted in this exhibit, which is timestamp 4:38 p.m. on June 25th, 2009?
Yes, I do. It's the emergency parking lot for UCLA Med Center.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And referencing then I have here an aerial photograph of the UCLA Ronald Reagan Medical Center, Your Honor. May this photograph remark People's 183 for identification?
Yes.
Detective Smith, showing you what I just marked as People's 183. The area where Dr. Murray was seen exiting the building in the emergency room parking lot. Do you see that area depicted in the photograph? You want me to bring the picture to you?
Could you please? It's difficult for me to tell.
Let's turn on the microphone.
People's 183. I'm going to use the pointer. Do you see this rear parking lot, Detective Smith, where I'm pointing to the right of People's 183?
I do, yes. I see it in People's 183 here in
And
front
I'm
of me.
pointing to it on the document in front of you.
Yes.
Is that the emergency room parking lot that you referenced?
Yes, it is.
All right. So as the video depicted, can you tell us from the point of exit of Conrad Murray, can you tell us in this photograph which direction he is walking?
Yes. Basically exiting out this area and then walking in this direction here.
Okay, and you've indicated, can you, using a pen, can you draw on People's 183, essentially the approximate exit you just indicated and the direction with an arrow in which Conrad Murray was walking?
Yes.
Black pen.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Putting People's 183 back on the screen. Let me see if this shows up. Is this the arrow you drew then? So the emergency room lobby would be in the building where your line begins to be drawn?
That's correct.
And what we saw Dr. Murray doing was then coming out of this building and walking in the direction of essentially toward what is almost an L shape of this building, but toward this other building next to it. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And then following what was shown in that surveillance footage, again, there's subsequent footage showing him in the west lobby area of the building.
That's correct.
And do you know where that is with specificity?
No, I was never in that area.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Now, at the time you were at UCLA, did you speak briefly to Fahim Muhammad?
Yes, I did.
Was that a detailed interview, or how would you describe that interview?
Very brief.
What is a chronology as it relates to an LAPD murder book or murder investigation?
A chronology is something we refer to as a chrono that lists tasks or things that we've completed throughout the investigation that we deem noteworthy.
And while at UCLA, did you also speak briefly with Alberto Alvarez?
Yes.
Did you obtain, or did you even attempt to obtain from either one of those gentlemen any details of what had happened that day, at that time?
Very briefly.
You got their positions, how they were employed by Mr. Jackson?
Yes, and just basically their information.
And you learned that Dr. Murray was a personal physician?
Sustain.
Well, what did Fahim Muhammad tell you in this brief interview on June 25th, 2009 at UCLA?
I recall talking to Fahim Muhammad. Again, it was extremely brief, and that he was employed by Mr. Jackson, and that just his basic information, contact information.
All right. And regarding Alberto Alvarez, you spoke to him as reflected in your chronology at UCLA?
Yes.
And what did Alberto Alvarez tell you?
Basically the same information, although that he had gone up into the room and to assist Dr. Murray.
And did he tell you that Dr. Murray had, once he'd been up in the room, Dr. Murray had advised him to call 911?
Yes.
Now, you indicated you left UCLA. Well, let me ask you, were there any other interviews done by you at UCLA that day, June 25th, 2009?
No, there was not.
Following